Commander Jake Morrison floated in the command chair of his ship, watching the stars through the big window. His ship, the Valiant, moved slowly around the edge of the solar system. It was a boring job, but someone had to watch for trouble. Earth had just learned how to travel faster than light, and everyone was excited about what might be out there. Jake had been doing this patrol for 3 months. Every day was the same. Check the sensors, look for strange signals, make sure nothing dangerous was coming toward Earth. He never expected to actually find anything. Space was big, and Earth was just a small planet in the middle of nowhere. That changed on Tuesday morning. Jake was drinking his coffee when the alarm started screaming. His hands shook as he put the cup down and looked at the screens. Something huge was moving near Jupiter. Something that had not been there 5 minutes ago. "This is Commander Morrison to Earth Control," Jake said into his radio. His voice was steady, but his heart was beating fast. "I have a contact near Jupiter. It's big, really big." The voice that came back was worried. "Morrison, can you tell us what it is?" Jake looked at his screens again. The thing was shaped like a crystal, all sharp edges and smooth surfaces. It was white and silver, and it seemed to glow with its own light. It was also bigger than any ship humans had ever built. Much bigger. "I don't know what it is," Jake said, "but it's not one of ours." For the first time in human history, Earth was meeting aliens. The alien ship did not move toward Earth. It just sat there near Jupiter, waiting. Jake kept his distance and watched it. After 2 hours, his radio crackled with a new voice. "Human vessel, this is Ambassador Kelthrin of the Zenith Collective. We come in peace. We wish to speak with your leaders." Jake almost dropped his radio. The voice was speaking perfect English. No accent, no strange sounds. It was like listening to a news reporter on television. "This is Commander Morrison of the Earth Defense Force," Jake said. "How do you know our language?" "We have been watching your world for many years," the alien said. "We know much about your people. We come to offer friendship and help." Jake felt confused and scared. These aliens had been watching Earth for years and nobody knew about it. That was not good news. But they said they came in peace. Maybe that was true. "I need to talk to my superiors," Jake said. "Of course, we will wait." Jake called Earth Control and told them everything. Within an hour, every important person on Earth was talking about the aliens. The president, the military leaders, the scientists. Everyone wanted to know what these Zenith people wanted. Captain Lisa Brooks got the job of talking to the aliens. She was smart and brave, and she had more experience with space than almost anyone else. She took her ship, the Diplomat, and flew out to meet the alien vessel. Jake watched from a distance as the two ships met. The alien ship was so big that the Diplomat looked like a toy boat next to an ocean liner. But Captain Brooks was not afraid. She docked with the alien ship and went inside to meet Ambassador Kelthrin. Jake waited for hours to hear what happened. When Captain Brooks finally called, she sounded amazed. "They're incredible," she said. "Their ship is like nothing we've ever seen. Clean energy, artificial gravity, computers that think faster than anything we have. And Ambassador Kelthrin is very friendly. He wants to help us." The next few days were like a dream. Ambassador Kelthrin came to Earth and met with President Caroline Wright. He was tall and thin, with forearms and skin that looked like crystal. His eyes were large and kind, and he spoke softly and politely. The ambassador told amazing stories about the galaxy. There were hundreds of intelligent species out there, all working together in peace. They had solved problems like war, hunger, and disease. They traveled between the stars like humans drove cars between cities. "We want to share this with you," Ambassador Kelthrin said to the president. "Your people are young, but they have potential. We can teach you our technology. We can show you how to live in peace with all species." The offer was incredible. Clean energy that would solve all of Earth's power problems, medicine that could cure any disease, technology that would make life better for everyone on the planet. But there was a price. Earth would have to join the Zenith Collective. Humans would have to follow their laws and help with their missions across the galaxy. "What kind of missions?" President Wright asked. "Peacekeeping missions," the ambassador said. Sometimes young species fight wars or hurt each other. We help them learn to live in peace. It is our duty to bring order to the galaxy." It sounded good, but something felt wrong to Jake. He could not explain why, but he did not trust these aliens. They were too perfect, too polite, and the way they talked about other species bothered him. They called them young and said they needed to be taught how to live properly. Dr. Alex Stone felt the same way. He was a scientist who studied alien life, and he spent days watching recordings of Ambassador Kelthrin's speeches. Something in the aliens' words and behavior made him nervous. "Look at how he talks about other species," Dr. Stone told his assistant. "He says they need to be guided and improved. That doesn't sound like friendship to me, that sounds like control." While the politicians talked and the scientists studied, Jake kept patrolling space. That's when he found the message. It was a weak radio signal coming from the far edge of the galaxy. Jake almost missed it because it was hidden in the background noise of space. But when he cleaned it up and listened to it, his blood went cold. The message was in a strange language, but his computer translated it. It was from something called the Kethmore, and they were asking for help. "We have heard rumors of a new species in the Outer Rim," the message said. "If you can hear this, please help us. The Zenith have come to our world. They say they bring peace, but they bring slavery. They are changing our people, making them into something else. Our children no longer remember our songs, our warriors no longer fight for freedom. Please, if you are strong enough to resist them, help us. And whatever you do, do not trust them. They are not what they seem." Jake listened to the message 3 times. His hands were shaking when he finally turned off the recording. The Zenith were not peaceful friends. They were conquerors, and they were already here, talking to Earth's leaders, offering gifts that were really chains. Jake looked out at the stars and wondered if it was already too late. The aliens had been watching Earth for years. They knew human weaknesses and strengths. They had come with the perfect offer at the perfect time. But maybe humans were different from the other species the Zenith had conquered. Maybe humans would not be so easy to control. Jake hoped so, because if the Kethmore message was true, Earth was about to face the greatest threat in human history, and most people on Earth did not even know it was coming. 3 months passed since the first meeting with the Zenith. Ambassador Kate Phillips packed her bags for the trip to the alien homeworld. She was nervous but excited. This would be the most important diplomatic mission in human history. Kate had been chosen because she was smart and careful. She spoke 5 languages and had worked with difficult people before. But nothing had prepared her for dealing with aliens who might be lying about everything. The Zenith ship that would take her was beautiful. It was smooth and white, with no sharp edges or ugly parts. Everything inside glowed with soft light. The walls seemed to be made of some kind of living crystal that pulsed gently like a heartbeat. "Welcome aboard, Ambassador Phillips," said Kelthrin. "The journey to our homeworld will take 7 days. You will be very comfortable." Kate looked around the ship. Everything was perfect, too perfect. The air smelled like flowers. The temperature was just right, and even the food was exactly what she liked to eat. It was like the ship had been designed just for her. During the journey, Kate met other aliens from the Zenith Collective. There was Morandis, who looked like a giant butterfly with golden wings. There was Vexthul, who had blue skin and eyes like a cat. There was Zilnif, who was small and round with 6 arms. All of them were very polite. All of them smiled and spoke softly. All of them said the same things about how wonderful the collective was and how happy they were to be part of it. But something was wrong. Kate could not put her finger on it, but these aliens seemed strange. They never disagreed with each other. They never got angry or sad or excited. They all acted exactly the same way. "Tell me about your homeworld," Kate asked Morandis during dinner. "It is beautiful," Morandis said. "We have no war, no crime, no suffering. The Zenith taught us how to live in perfect harmony." "What was it like before the Zenith came?" Morandis paused. For a moment, Kate thought she saw something in the alien's eyes. Fear? Sadness? But then, it was gone. "I do not remember," Morandis said. "The old ways were violent and chaotic. We are better now. Kate felt a chill run down her spine. How could someone not remember their own history? Back on Earth, things were getting worse. More Zenith ships had arrived. They said they were there for cultural exchange, but Captain Ben Taylor was not fooled. He watched the alien ships with his telescopes and sensors, and he did not like what he saw. The Zenith ships were scanning everything. They pointed their sensors at military bases, government buildings, and communication centers. They were mapping Earth's defenses and learning about human technology. They're not here to exchange culture, Captain Taylor told his commander. They're here to spy on us. Stand down, Captain, his commander said. The politicians don't want any trouble. We need to be careful not to upset our new friends. Captain Taylor wanted to scream. These aliens were clearly planning something bad, but nobody would listen to him. Everyone was too excited about the technology and gifts the Zenith were offering. Dr. Alex Stone was having the same problem. He had been studying the Zenith for months, and everything he learned made him more worried. He had found old radio signals from other worlds, messages that told scary stories about what happened when the Zenith came to visit. Look at this, Dr. Stone said to his research team. He played a recording on his computer. It was from a species called the Daleth, and it was very old. The Zenith came to us 50 years ago, the recording said. They offered us peace and technology, but they changed us. They put things in our food, in our water, in our air. Now we cannot think for ourselves. We cannot remember who we used to be. We are slaves, but we are happy to be slaves. Help us, please help us remember. The recording ended and Dr. Stone's team sat in silence. There are dozens of these messages, Dr. Stone said, from species all over the galaxy. They all tell the same story. The Zenith come offering help, but they end up controlling everyone. How do they do it? Asked one of his assistants. I think they use biological weapons, Dr. Stone said. Viruses or chemicals that change how the brain works. They make people calm and obedient. They take away the ability to fight back or think independently. Dr. Stone tried to warn the government, but nobody wanted to hear it. The Zenith had offered to cure cancer and end world hunger. Who cared about some old radio messages from alien conspiracy theorists? On the Zenith homeworld, Kate was seeing the truth for herself. The planet was beautiful, with tall crystal cities and perfect weather. But the people living there were like robots. They moved in perfect lines, spoke in quiet voices, and never seemed to have any real emotions. Kate met with the leaders of other species that were part of the collective. They were supposed to be ambassadors, but they all said exactly the same things in exactly the same way. We are grateful to the Zenith, said the Vorth ambassador. They have given us peace and purpose. We are grateful to the Zenith, said the Kala ambassador. They have given us peace and purpose. We are grateful to the Zenith, said the Miram ambassador. They have given us peace and purpose. It was like listening to the same recording played over and over again. Kate realized that these were not the same people who had originally led their species. They had been changed somehow, turned into copies of each other. That night, Kate tried to send a message back to Earth, but when she turned on her communication device, it would not work. The signal was being blocked. Is there a problem, Ambassador Phillips? Asked Kelthrin. He had appeared, in her room without making any sound. My communicator isn't working, Kate said, trying to stay calm. I am sorry for the inconvenience, Kelthrin said. There is interference from our city's power systems. You will be able to contact your people when you return to your ship. Kate nodded and smiled, but she knew he was lying. They were not letting her talk to Earth because they did not want her to tell anyone what she had seen. Meanwhile, on a distant world, Lieutenant Sam Rogers was picking up more distress signals. He worked at a secret military base that listened to radio signals from space. Most of what he heard was just noise, but sometimes he found real messages. The latest message was from the Vorth, the same species that had an ambassador on the Zenith, homeworld. But this message was very different from what that ambassador had said. My name is Grixtal of the Vorth Resistance, the message said. We are the last free members of our species. The Zenith destroyed our world and enslaved our people. They did not conquer us with weapons. They changed us with chemicals and viruses. They took away our anger, our pride, our ability to fight back. Our own families do not recognize us now. We are hiding in the ruins of our old cities, trying to remember who we used to be. If anyone can hear this, please help us. The Zenith fear only one thing: species that are too violent and angry to be controlled. You may be our only hope. Lieutenant Rogers felt sick. The Zenith were not peaceful helpers. They were monsters who destroyed entire civilizations by turning people into slaves. And they were already on Earth, getting ready to do the same thing to humans. Rogers tried to report what he had found, but his commanders told him to keep quiet. The government did not want to hear anything that might ruin their deal with the Zenith. But Rogers was not going to give up. He copied all the messages he had found and sent them to people he trusted: scientists, journalists, military officers who were not afraid to ask hard questions. The truth was starting to spread. The Zenith were not friends. They were the most dangerous enemy humanity had ever faced, and they were already here, preparing to destroy everything that made humans human. The only question was whether anyone would listen before it was too late. Colonel Matt Davis crept through the dark tunnels under Mars. His team of 12 soldiers followed him, their weapons ready. They had been watching the Zenith research station for weeks, waiting for the right moment to break in. The Zenith had built their facility in an old mining complex. They said they were studying Mars rocks and soil. But Matt had seen the ships coming and going at night, ships that carried human prisoners. "Remember, we go in quiet," Matt whispered to his team. "Get the evidence, get out, don't start a fight unless we have to." The team moved through the tunnels like shadows. They had trained for missions like this their whole lives, but they had never expected to be fighting aliens on Mars. When they reached the facility, Matt felt sick. Through the windows, he could see rooms full of medical equipment. And in those rooms were humans, men and women from Earth lying on tables with tubes and wires attached to their bodies. "My God," whispered Sergeant Kelly Price, one of Matt's soldiers. "What are they doing to them?" Matt activated his camera and started recording everything. The humans on the tables were alive, but they looked wrong. Their eyes were empty and they moved like sleepwalkers. Some of them had strange marks on their skin, like tattoos that glowed with a faint blue light. In one room, Matt saw Zenith scientists working on a human woman. They were injecting something into her arm. As they watched, the woman's face changed. The anger and fear in her eyes faded away, replaced by a blank, peaceful expression. "They're changing them," Matt said into his radio. "The Zenith are doing something to human brains." The team moved deeper into the facility. In the main laboratory, they found computers full of information about the experiments. Matt's technical expert, Corporal Andy Lee, connected his device to the alien computers and started copying files. "Colonel, you need to see this," Andy said. His face was pale as he read the alien data. "They've been studying humans for 50 years. They have files on millions of people, names, addresses, DNA samples, psychological profiles. They know everything about us." Matt looked at the screen. The files were written in English, probably translated by the alien computers. What he read made his blood freeze. Subject: species. Homo sapiens, the file said. Classification: Class X Deathworld predator. Threat level: maximum. This species exhibits unprecedented levels of aggression, adaptability, and persistence. Unlike all previously encountered sapiens, Homo sapiens evolved on a planet with extreme environmental pressures, constant natural disasters, and predatory megafauna. As a result, they possess survival instincts and combat capabilities that exceed all known parameters. Matt kept reading. The file went on for pages, describing humans like they were dangerous animals. Psychological analysis. Homo sapiens displays disturbing behavioral patterns including pack hunting, territorial aggression, and refusal to submit to superior force. They are capable of extreme violence even when facing certain death. Most concerning is their ability to adapt rapidly to new threats and their tendency to turn any tool into a weapon. Recommendation: standard integration protocols will not work on this species. They are too aggressive and independent to be controlled through normal means. Alternative methods must be developed. If control cannot be achieved, species termination may be necessary to preserve collective stability. Matt felt like he was going to be sick. The Zenith did not see humans as friends or equals. They saw them as monsters that needed to be destroyed or enslaved. Copy everything, Matt told Andy. Every file, every recording, every piece of data. Earth needs to see this. While Andy worked, Matt explored more of the facility. In the deepest level, he found something that made him understand the true horror of what the Zenith were doing. It was a room full of tanks, each one containing a human floating in some kind of liquid. But these humans were different. They had been changed, altered in ways that made Matt's stomach turn. Some had extra arms or legs. Others had their skulls opened up, with alien technology connected directly to their brains. A recording was playing in the room, showing the experiments in progress. Matt watched as Zenith scientists took normal humans and slowly transformed them into something else. The worst part was that the humans seemed happy about it. They smiled and thanked their captors even as they were being mutilated. Biological. Modification successful, said a Zenith voice on the recording. Subject aggression reduced by 97%. Independent thought patterns eliminated. Subject now suitable for integration into collective labor force. Matt had seen enough. He signaled his team to get ready to leave. But as they prepared to go, alarms started ringing throughout the facility. Intruders detected, said a mechanical voice. Security teams respond to level 7. Matt and his team ran for the exit, but they were too late. Zenith soldiers were waiting for them in the tunnels. The aliens were tall and thin, wearing armor that seemed to be made of the same crystal material as their ships. The fight was brutal and short. Human weapons worked on the aliens, but their armor was tough. Matt lost 3 of his soldiers before they managed to fight their way out of the facility. But they had what they came for. The files and recordings that would prove to Earth what the Zenith really were. Back on Earth, Dr. Alex Stone was making his own discoveries. He had been studying samples of Zenith technology, trying to understand how it worked. What he found was worse than he had imagined. The Zenith did not just use chemicals and viruses to control other species. They had created a biological network that connected all the minds in their collective. Every member of every species was linked together through tiny machines that lived in their blood. It's like a computer network, but it's made of living tissue, Dr. Stone explained to his team. Every person in the collective is connected to every other person. The Zenith can control their thoughts, their emotions, even their memories. But Dr. Stone had also found something else, something that gave him hope. The network was designed for species that evolved on peaceful worlds, he said. Species that naturally cooperate and follow orders. But humans are different. We evolved on a world where everything was trying to kill us. Our brains are wired for chaos and conflict. Dr. Stone pulled up a computer model on his screen. It showed what would happen if the Zenith tried to connect human minds to their network. Look at this, he said. Human brain patterns are too chaotic, too aggressive. If they try to link us to their network, we won't be controlled by it. We'll control it. We could turn their greatest weapon against them. Meanwhile, on the Zenith homeworld, Ambassador Kate Phillips was running for her life. She had been caught trying to contact Earth, and now the aliens were hunting her through the Crystal Cities. Kate had managed to send one message before they found her. It was short, but it contained everything Earth needed to know. "This is Ambassador Phillips to Earth Command," she had said into her hidden communicator. "The Zenith are not our friends. They're slavers and killers. They've destroyed hundreds of worlds. They're planning to do the same to us. Don't trust them. Don't let them give you any more gifts. Fight back before it's too late." Now Kate was hiding in the ruins of an old city on the edge of the Zenith homeworld. The buildings here were different from the crystal towers. They were made of stone and metal, and they looked old and broken. Kate realized that this was what was left of the original inhabitants of this world. The Zenith had conquered them long ago and built their perfect cities on top of the bones of the old civilization. As she hid in the ruins, Kate met someone she did not expect to find. It was an old alien, bent and scarred, who looked nothing like the peaceful, perfect beings she had seen in the crystal cities. "You are the human," the old alien said. "I have been waiting for you." "Who are you?" Kate asked. "I am Velthak," the alien said. I am the last free citizen of Zenth Prime. This was my world before the collective came, before they turned my people into slaves. Velthak told Kate the truth about the Zenith homeworld. It was not their original planet. They were conquerors who moved from world to world, taking over civilizations and turning the inhabitants into workers for their empire. They fear you, Velthak said. Your species frightens them more than anything they have ever encountered. They call you the Deathworld Devils. They believe you are too dangerous to be allowed to live. Then why haven't they just attacked us? Kate asked. Because they know you would fight back, Velthak said. And fighting is something they have forgotten how to do. They have been conquerors for so long that they have lost the ability to face real resistance. Your people's refusal to submit easily has confused them. They do not know how to handle a species that chooses to fight rather than surrender. Velthak led Kate to a hidden communication device. It was old and crude, but it could reach Earth. Tell your people the truth, Velthak said. Tell them that the galaxy is full of species who have been waiting for someone strong enough to fight back. Tell them that if they can resist the Zenith, they will not be alone. Kate sent her final message to Earth. She told them about the biological network, about the ruined civilizations, about the species waiting for liberation. She told them that humanity was not facing this threat alone. The message reached Earth just as Colonel Matt Davis was presenting his evidence to the world leaders. The truth was finally out. The Zenith were. The war began at dawn on a Tuesday morning. The Zenith attacked without warning, just as they had done to hundreds of other worlds. But Earth was not like those other worlds. The first wave came from space. Giant Zenith ships appeared around Earth, their crystal hulls glowing with deadly energy. They fired electromagnetic pulses designed to shut down all human technology. The aliens expected to find a helpless planet after the attack. Instead, they found Colonel Sarah Kim's defense systems still working perfectly. Sarah had spent months preparing for this moment, building military equipment that could survive alien attacks. Her weapons were old-fashioned and crude compared to Zenith technology, but they were tough and reliable. All defense stations, this is Colonel Kim, Sarah spoke into her radio. The aliens just showed us what they really are. Now let's show them what humans are made of. Commander Jake Morrison was in space when the attack began. His ship, the Valiant, was small and weak compared to the giant Zenith vessels. But Jake had something the aliens did not expect: pure human stubbornness. This is Morrison to all Earth ships, Jake said. They want to fight. Let's give them one they'll never forget. Jake flew his ship straight at the nearest Zenith vessel. His weapons could barely scratch the alien armor, but he kept firing anyway. When his missiles ran out, he rammed his ship into the enemy hull. The Zenith ship's shields held, but the aliens inside were shaken. They had never seen anything like this before. In their experience, weaker species surrendered when faced with superior force. They did not ram their ships into enemy vessels like crazy warriors. Lieutenant Tony Clark was flying his fighter when he saw Jake's attack. It gave him an idea. If one ship ramming the aliens surprised them, what would a dozen ships do? All fighters follow me, Tony said. We're going to hit them where it hurts. Tony led his squadron in a suicide attack against the Zenith command ship. Half of his pilots were killed in the assault, but they managed to break through the alien shields and damage the ship's main weapon systems. The Zenith were confused and frightened. Their computers had calculated that humans would surrender after losing 30% of their forces. But the humans kept fighting even when they were clearly going to lose. On the ground, the war was even more brutal. Zenith soldiers landed in major cities around the world, expecting to face organized military resistance. Instead, they found something much worse: angry humans who refused to follow any rules. General Steve Parker was in charge of defending New York City. He had studied the Zenith for months, learning about their weapons and tactics. The aliens were used to fighting enemies who followed predictable patterns. Steve decided to throw out all the rules. Forget everything you learned in military school, Steve told his soldiers. These aliens think war is a game with rules. We're going to show them that humans don't play games when someone threatens our home. The Zenith landed in Central Park with a force of 1,000 soldiers. They expected to march through the city and capture government buildings. Instead, they found themselves trapped in a nightmare of urban warfare. Human soldiers attacked from sewers, subway tunnels, and abandoned buildings. They used improvised explosives, booby traps, and weapons made from scrap metal. When they ran, out of ammunition, they attacked with knives, hammers, and their bare hands. The aliens had superior weapons and armor, but they could not handle the chaos of human warfare. They were used to enemies who fought in neat formations and followed logical strategies. They did not know how to deal with humans who would hide in garbage trucks and attack with Molotov cocktails. Sergeant Mike Thompson led a squad of Marines through the ruins of downtown Manhattan. His team had been fighting for 3 days without rest, living on energy drinks and rage. When they found a group of Zenith soldiers setting up a communication post, Mike made a decision that would become legendary. "Boys," Mike said to his team, "those aliens think they can just walk into our city and take over. Let's teach them some manners." Mike and his Marines charged the alien position with nothing but rifles and grenades. The Zenith had energy shields and advanced armor, but they panicked when faced with humans who screamed battle cries and fought like wild animals. The Marines won the battle, but at a terrible cost. Only Mike and 2 others survived. As they stood among the alien bodies, Mike spoke into his radio. "Command, this is Thompson. Position secured. We're going to need more Marines and a lot more coffee." In space, Captain Lisa Brooks was leading a desperate attack on the main Zenith fleet. Her ship, the Diplomat, had been converted into a warship with every weapon Earth could mount on it. Lisa's fleet was outnumbered 10-1, but the humans had advantages the aliens did not understand. Human pilots could think faster and react quicker than the Zenith, who relied too much on their computers and predictable tactics. Commander Rachel White was Lisa's best pilot. She flew her fighter through impossible maneuvers, dodging alien fire and striking back with deadly precision. When her ship was damaged and about to explode, Rachel made the same choice that Jake Morrison had made earlier. "This is White to all. Ships," she said. "Remember why we fight. Remember who we protect." Rachel flew her burning fighter into the engine core of a Zenith battleship. The explosion destroyed both vessels, but it also created an opening that let the human fleet break through the alien lines. But the real turning point came when Dr. Alex Stone put his plan into action. While the battles raged in space and on Earth, Stone was working in his laboratory with the captured Zenith technology. "If we can't beat them with weapons," Stone said to his assistant, "maybe we can beat them with their own network." Stone had discovered how to hack into the biological network that connected all members of the Zenith Collective. But instead of trying to control it, he did something the aliens never expected. He introduced chaos into their perfect system. Stone created a virus that spread through the network, but instead of destroying it, the virus made it unpredictable. Suddenly, Zenith soldiers all over the galaxy started receiving conflicting orders. Some were told to attack, others to retreat. Some were told to protect humans, others to ignore them completely. The network that had been the Zenith's greatest strength became their greatest weakness. For the first time in their history, they could not coordinate their forces or control their slaves. On distant worlds, enslaved species began to remember who they used to be. The biological controls that had kept them docile for generations started to break down. Rebellion spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Kethmore were the first to break free. Led by a warrior named Grixtal, they destroyed their Zenith overseers and reclaimed their homeworld. Then they sent ships to help other species do the same. The Vorth resistance, which had been hiding in ruins for 50 years, suddenly found themselves fighting alongside their own people again. The network that had turned their families into slaves was failing, and the old Vorth warrior spirit was returning. Back on Earth, the tide of battle was turning. The Zenith forces were in chaos, their commanders unable to coordinate attacks or receive orders from their ships. Human forces pressed their advantage, driving the aliens back to their landing zones. Captain Lisa Brooks led the final assault on the Zenith command ship in orbit. Her crew, including Sergeant Mike Thompson, who had been rescued from New York, fought their way through the alien vessel's defenses. The fighting inside the ship was brutal and desperate. The Zenith had never faced enemies who would fight in close quarters with such savage intensity. Their elegant crystal corridors became battlefields soaked with blood from both species. Engineer Lisa Chang used her knowledge of alien technology to overload the ship's power systems. The explosion that followed destroyed the command vessel and sent shockwaves through the remaining Zenith fleet. With their command structure broken and their network in chaos, the surviving Zenith ships began to retreat. But it was too late to save their empire. All across the galaxy, enslaved species were rising up, and the 1,000-year reign of the Zenith Collective was coming to an end. As the alien ships fled toward the edge of the solar system, Commander Jake Morrison watched from the bridge of a new ship. His old vessel had been destroyed in the fighting, but the human shipyards were already building bigger and better ships. "This is just the beginning," Jake said to his crew. "They came here thinking we were weak, now they know better. And so, does every other species in the galaxy." The war was not over yet, but humanity had proven something important. They were not victims waiting to be saved or conquered. They were fighters who would never surrender, no matter how bad things got. 6 months after the first battle, the galaxy was on fire. Not with war, but with freedom. Every day, more species broke free from Zenith control. The biological network that had enslaved them for generations was falling apart, and ancient memories of independence were returning. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new ship, the Defiance. It was bigger and stronger than anything humans had built before, but it was not the biggest ship in the fleet around him. Ships from a dozen different species flew alongside the human vessels, all working together to hunt down the remaining Zenith forces. "Admiral, we're getting reports from the Kethmore fleet," said his communications officer. "They've liberated 3 more worlds in the Outer Rim. The Zenith forces there surrendered without a fight." Jake nodded. The Zenith were losing their will to fight. For 1,000 years they had been the masters of the galaxy, ruling through fear and control. But they had never learned how to handle real resistance. When their perfect system started to break down, they did not know how to fix it. Dr. Alex Stone was working around the clock in his laboratory ship. He had become the galaxy's expert on the Zenith biological network, and species from across the stars were asking for his help to free their people. "The network is completely failing," Stone told his team. "Every day more minds break free from Zenith control. But we need to be careful. Some of these people have been enslaved for so long that they don't remember how to think for themselves." Stone had developed a treatment that could speed up the recovery process. It was not a cure. Freedom could not be injected with a needle, but it helped people remember who they used to be before the Zenith changed them. The hardest cases were the Zenith themselves. Many of them had been part of the collective for so long that they had forgotten their original species. When the network collapsed, they were left confused and lost, not knowing who they were or what they believed. Ambassador Kate Phillips had survived her escape from the Zenith homeworld. She was now leading a diplomatic mission to help the freed species organize themselves. It was not easy work. Many of these civilizations had been enslaved for centuries, and they needed to learn how to govern themselves again. "The important thing is that we don't try to control them," Kate told her team. "We're here to help, not to replace the Zenith as galactic rulers. Every species needs to find their own way to freedom." But not all of the Zenith wanted to give up. Supreme Coordinator Velnath, the leader of what remained of the collective, had gathered his most loyal followers on a fortress world at the edge of the galaxy. He was preparing for one final battle. "The humans have poisoned the galaxy with their chaos," Velnath told his remaining commanders. "Order must be restored. If we cannot rule through peace, then we will rule through fear." Velnath had a terrible weapon. It was a planet killer, a device that could destroy entire worlds. He planned to use it to force the galaxy back under Zenith. Control. Captain Lisa Brooks was leading the Alliance fleet that surrounded the Zenith Fortress world. Her ships came from 20 different species, all united by their hatred of slavery and their desire for freedom. "This is Captain Brooks to all ships," Lisa said over the radio. "The Zenith want one last fight. Let's make sure it's their last fight ever." The battle for the Fortress world was the biggest space battle in galactic history. Thousands of ships fought among the asteroids and moons around the planet. The freed species fought with weapons they had built themselves, crude but effective tools of war that reflected their different cultures and histories. The Kethmore ships were fast and aggressive, diving into enemy formations like ancient warriors, charging with spears. The Vorth used heavy armored vessels that could take enormous punishment while returning devastating fire. The humans used every dirty trick they could think of, attacking from unexpected angles and using tactics that made no sense to anyone but other humans. But the real heroes of the battle were the former slaves who had been serving on Zenith ships. When the fighting started, they turned on their masters and took control of dozens of enemy vessels. The Zenith had never expected their own slaves to rebel, and they were not prepared for attacks from within their own fleet. Commander Rachel White led a strike team to capture the planet killer weapon. She had survived her earlier suicide attack by ejecting from her fighter at the last second, and now she was flying an advanced ship built with technology from 5 different species. The weapon is in the center of the fortress, Rachel told her team over the radio. We go in fast, grab it, and get out before they can blow us all to pieces. Rachel's team fought their way through the fortress defenses. The Zenith soldiers they faced were different from the ones they had fought before. These were the true believers, the ones who would rather die than see their perfect order destroyed. The fighting was brutal. Rachel lost half her team before they reached the weapon chamber, but when they got there, they found something unexpected. The planet killer was being guarded by a group of young Zenith who had never been part of the original collective. They had been born into slavery just like everyone else, and they had no loyalty to Velnath or his dreams of galactic conquest. We don't want to fight you, their leader said to Rachel. We just want to be free like everyone else. Rachel looked at the young aliens and made a decision that would define the new galaxy. Then help us end this, she said. Help us make sure no one is ever enslaved again. Together, humans and reformed Zenith destroyed the planet killer. The explosion could be seen from space, a bright flash that marked the end of the old order. Supreme Coordinator Velnath was captured alive. He was put on trial by representatives from every species in the galaxy. The trial lasted for months as witness after witness told stories of Zenith cruelty and oppression. When it was over, Velnath was not executed. Instead, he was sentenced to spend the rest of his life helping to rebuild the civilizations he had destroyed. It was a punishment that hurt him more than death would have, because it forced him to see the consequences of his actions every day. The war was over, but the real work was just beginning. The galaxy was free, but freedom was not the same as peace. Different species had different ideas about how to organize themselves, and there were conflicts and arguments. But there was also hope. For the first time in 1,000 years, every species in the galaxy had the right to choose their own destiny. Some wanted to explore the stars, others wanted to rebuild their homeworlds. A few wanted to live in isolation. The humans became the galaxy's protectors, not its rulers. Earth built a new kind of military, one dedicated to defending freedom rather than conquering territory. Human ships patrolled the spaceways, making sure that no new empire could rise to enslave the galaxy. Admiral Jake Morrison was given command of the new Galactic Defense Force. On his first day in the job, he received a message from a species called the Zilani, who lived on the far side of the galaxy. We have heard stories of the humans who freed the galaxy, the message said. There are rumors of a new threat rising in our region. Dark ships have been seen at the edge of our space. We do not know who they are or what they want, but we are afraid. Can you help us? Jake smiled as he read the message. The galaxy was a big place full of dangers and challenges, but it was also full of people who were willing to stand up for what was right. Navigation, set course for the Zilani system, Jake ordered. Let's go see what trouble is brewing out there. As the Defiance jumped to hyperspace, Jake thought about how much had changed. A year ago, humans had been alone in the universe, dreaming of meeting friendly aliens. Now they were the guardians of galactic freedom, protectors of species they had never heard of. It was not the future anyone had expected, but it was the future the galaxy needed. On Earth, President Caroline Wright was unveiling a new memorial. It honored all the humans who had died fighting the Zenith, as well as the members of other species who had given their lives for freedom. The inscription on the memorial was simple, but powerful. They came expecting us to kneel. Instead, we taught the galaxy how to stand. Children from a dozen different species played in the gardens around the memorial. They spoke different languages and looked completely different from each other, but they all shared one thing. They were free. And in the depths of space, new ships were being built, ships that would carry the message of freedom to every corner of the galaxy. Ships crewed by humans and aliens working together, united by their belief that no one should ever be a slave. The age of the zenith was over. The age of freedom had begun.